What is up, people? Let the legacy continue. I want to thank you for joining us again on Real to Real, the show where real talk and real debate leads the way to real solutions. And as always, the goal of this show is to get you to think, gather information, knowledge, and above all, the value of truth. So today's show, we're going to deal with a couple of different topics in regards to the legal system, as some might call it, the justice system, but really what it is a legal system. And I have two guests here today. My man, Nick, thank you for joining me, my brother. My business partner, Anthony, thank you for being here, my brother.
Hey, how you doing?
Right. And we're going to jump right into this and get at it. But first of all, Nick, I met you through a mutual friend, and that's correct. And the first thing that he told me was that I have a brother that has a story. Mm-hmm. And after talking with you, I understood, why he said that to me. So, again, thank you for joining us. And I want to turn it over to you to let you, introduce yourself and just tell us, what you would whatever you would like to offer, about you and the story that we discussed.
Okay. Well, real name's Nikias Bradley. That's my government name, I'm originally out of the Midwest, East St. Louis, Brooklyn, Illinois, Venice, Illinois, Madison. I represent all that. When I was first birthed in Belleville, I originally was brought back to East St. Louis, but a majority of my family is in that area, in the Brooklyn area and the Venice area. I grew up in a small town called Venice, Illinois. Went to Venice Grade and Venice High. Dwelled in Brooklyn a lot. Matter of fact, I can say it's a privilege to have grown up in Brooklyn, Illinois, because it is the oldest black incorporated town in America.
Really?
Oh, yeah, man. You can go read about it in the book Tales of an All-Night Town, written by Ellen Schoen. And when I attended Southern Illinois, this professor named Dr. Chajua, he actually did a study and a book about Brooklyn, Illinois. A very unique town. It was very self-sufficient. I mean, given that it had to gather its resources from the Europeans, but it provided everything to the people that the people needed in that neighborhood, and they would go out and get the things that was needed for the people in the neighborhood. They had the stores, the laundromats, pretty much everything in there. They didn't have to really go outside unless it was maybe for medical support, things like that. But it's considered the oldest black incorporated town in America, and it's a privilege, and there's some beautiful people back there. It was my stomping ground, very inspirational. One of the safest places to grow up in America. Pretty much everyone was family. So, rarely did any harm come to one another. If anyone was harmed, most likely they was from outside of the neighborhood.
Right.
So, but it's inspirational. I like to say the people around there, as well as the conditions, is what induced me to want to go on to achieve a higher level of education, or what they deem a higher level of education, in these so-called institutes of higher learning. Because really, if it's to be considered an institute of higher learning, it has to be centered around the creator, which we know the institutions in this country is just simply a racket. Not downplaying or degrading any individual that goes to college or any university, but one, if it's not centered around the creator, it's not an institute of higher learning. Two, a majority of them is just trying to indoctrinate you with a jargon and a look to allow you to conform to the corporate structure. That's all. It's just focused on the jargon, the look, and how to tap dance for the corporate. I think the only way colleges benefit you is that if you're trying to be a scientist or a doctor or a lawyer and you're trying to learn the terminology, the jargon, as well as achieve the credentials to fall in such a position, I think that's what it's good for. But you'll find there are a lot of individuals, if it's just going to college to make money, you'll find a lot of individuals, they don't necessarily go to college and make more money than some of these individuals out here that's wearing shirts and ties, simply because if you go back to the essence, everything is about what you produce.
That's
Matters
right.
not what you do, it's about what you produce, how much you produce it, and how much you're going to labor to produce what you produce, you know?
Yeah.
So with me, I chose college as a way of escaping the neighborhood, because although it was beautiful, I still looked at it as a way to get out. It was, for us in the hood, you know, we got dreams of becoming a hip-hop artist, or becoming an entertainer, or becoming athletic, you know, NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball and all that. But for a lot of us, our way out of the hood is either the armed forces or through college. I was a conscientious objective, you know, ever since, you know, I gained knowledge of self. So I knew the armed forces wasn't my route, you know. I wasn't about to go kill for a country that really treats us as subservient individuals, treats us less than human. You know, we're not even 3/5 of a human if you understand what 3/5 truthfully is. You
Yes.
know, which is pretty much just 3/5 of the enslaved black man, which
That's
are
right.
not considered humans. You know, they never considered us humans over here. 3/5 was just a voting amount.
That's right.
And that's it. So, you know, I chose college. And I can safely say, even though I know what I know about college and the scams, you know, it was probably one of the best experiences I ever had. You know, it removed me from the neighborhood. It removed me from the atmosphere of constant drinking, constant smoking, even though that's we still doing
Yes.
it. You know, but
True that.
you know, it was an escapism. And I met a lot of wonderful individuals who I'm still aligned with today. I met a lot of wonderful professors, and you know, I went to Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville, so
Right.
East St. Louis was like 20 minutes away from it. You know, we had Catherine Dunham, we had individuals like Eugene Redmond, we had Dallas Brown, we had Shirley Portwood, we had Dr. Hudlin. These were all black professors that at a university that once told my older cousin that you are not going to make any more than a C at this university. These was professors that actually cared. And they made, I remember, here's one story. I remember I wrote an essay, right? And the essay wasn't bad, but the essay was off topic. So instead of Brother Eugene Redmond, instead of him failing me for that, he gave me a lower grade. But he pulled me to the side and said, your essay is not on topic, man. Do this again. And that's what a lot of us are missing out here today. You know, we're going to talk about the justice system later.
That's right.
Now, with the justice system, a lot of those prosecutors don't necessarily have to prosecute the individual. They can simply give that individual a chance, you know, and then if he don't make good on that second chance, which they always using the term second chance act,
That's right.
you know, if he don't make good on it, then shame on him. And then he or she suffers to whatever consequence that he or she suffers to. But that professor, he gave me the opportunity to do that paper all over again just so I wouldn't get a lower failing grade. Individuals that come from a line of individuals who feel the necessity to push you to succeed just in life, not just about this paper or this class in particular. This lesson supersedes just your not following directions. This lesson is emblematic to life. So, you know, I met a lot of great individuals with that experience. Man, it also introduced me to the I don't even want to say industrious, but she is working. The industrious black woman, man. You go to college, man, you run into some black women that's handling their business.
They are pretty dominant in that arena right now.
And man, you know, I'm not taking away from the brothers because, you know, I remember Cube saying, why is it more brothers in the pen than in college? But, you know, we've learned later that that's not true. It's a lot of brothers in college.
Yes.
It's just whether they actually complete the goal of graduate.
That's right.
So just to make it clear, I don't take away from college, even though we know the ultimate goals of those who form the universities over here, because, you know, we the original formers of the university. We going back to West Africa,
That's
Ramses,
correct.
you know.
Yes.
But their intention, as they always do, they take things from us and then use it for capitalistic purposes. But I do not take from the institutes of higher learning here. If our children can go, I would urge them to go. It is a wonderful experience. I was fortunate to graduate from Southern Illinois, as well as Prairie View A&M, which is a HBCU, and so that's a privilege. And I also graduated from Texarkana College with a HVAC degree. So, you know, I've had my term and toll, or what they call that in the armed forces, starts with a T. I've had my
Can't help you with that one.
hold on, I'm gonna tell you in a second. It starts with a T, but we'll just for lack of term, my tenure with the education system. But I was privileged to go on and teach in my neighborhood for a year in Venice. A wonderful experience again. You know, I still keep in touch with a lot of the students that I taught there today. Shortly after that, I moved to Dallas, you know, in '99. Best thing I could have ever done, because I think Dallas is a city where if you want to flourish, if you want to follow your dreams, if you want to achieve certain goals, it's here.
Absolutely.
And I've informed a lot of individuals back home that very same thing. There's been a lot of individuals from my neighborhood and the surroundings areas that have moved out this way, as well as moved to a lot of other southern states. Seems like we're not moving north, but we're moving south. But it's a lot of opportunity down there, which is why, you know, Dallas is a city, I think, that recognized that opportunity. You know, we made this great migration in the, let's say, late 40s, early 50s, trying to lead the South.
Yep.
But it's a lot of opportunity down here if you can deal with what comes with being down here. But in my eyes, the very thing that we deal with, such as racism, bigotry, prejudice, you know, discrimination, man, we dealing with that back up north.
Oh,
you know?
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it's there's different ways of conveying that mentality. Like down here, you got to give it up to, and this sounds crazy, but you got to give it up to the person that promotes racism or promotes hatred or prejudice, because down here, at least they got the gall to let you know up front.
To be up front, yeah.
I don't like you. Now what is it?
I'd rather be around that person.
Yeah.
Right, because
Yeah.
see,
I know
our
where
way,
you are.
They'll be cutting your throat and you don't know it.
You'll never know it.
Because you under the guise of abolition territory. You under the guise of everyone being cooperative and working with each other. But some of the biggest plantations and some of the most racial incidents happen in the North. We had the East St. Louis riots in 1917, which they weren't riots. It was just Europeans rebelling because they felt like, you know, we were entitled to the job now. But that's the circumstance you created.
Yeah.
For over 400
We just took
years.
advantage of it.
Yeah, we skilled.
That's right. We're skilled.
We worked in your fields. We used
That's
the
right.
technology you had. Hold on. Created technology to make our jobs easier. And now we were able to transfer that to society. Yeah. This is why you get all these different Black Wall Streets around the country.
And that's documented. That's not opinion. That is documented.
Man, a majority of the stuff is documented.
That's right.
It's just concealed.
That's right.
You know?
Oh, we're going to get to that.
Yeah. So, you know, I came to Dallas and I taught. I taught at H.S. Thompson. I taught at Joseph J. Rhodes. I even taught 2 years at Beltline Elementary in DeSoto. And I taught 5 years at Pearl C. Anderson. Wonderful experiences, man. Much love and shout out to South Dallas. South Dallas has always received me and welcomed me. A lot of the children that have gone on and, well, they're young men and women now, have gone on and done wonderful things. A lot of them, and it breaks me down, it's sort of bittersweet, but a lot of them credit a lot of the things that they ultimately ventured into to my teaching, because I went off script a lot in the classroom. I say around 88, 89, I began to develop knowledge of self. And I give all my love to hip hop for that, as well as my mother. My mother, she gave me a lot of books. My mother has been giving me books since I was, man, had me reading since I was like 3, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, your memory is, but I do remember the first thing around 3 or 4 that my mother began trying to read with me was a book, Little Red Riding Hood. I'll never forget that, you know? And ever since then, I had an insatiable desire to read and spell. I love to read and spell. I get caught up in the world of words, because basically that's how we communicate with each other.
That's
Unless,
right.
you know, it's all about pantomimes, you know? So, you know, I love to read and spell. So
Words have meaning.
words have meaning, and words have power.
That's right.
It's one of the derivation tools of truth, you know? So as I began to grow older, you know, I began to listen to individuals like Chuck D of Public Enemy, you know, and I began the first essay and the first book on Black empowerment I ever read was Alex Haley's Malcolm X, you know, and to this day, my #1 hero is still Malcolm X, you know. So that brings birth to the Islamic influence on me. Now, I never became a member of the Nation of Islam, but I did used to attend the Mosque 28 in East St. Louis. I think it's in St. Louis now, but I used to attend that mosque. And Chuck D would mention Farrakhan in his Farrakhan the Prophet, and I think you ought to listen to what he can say to you. You know, that turned me on to him. So I began to listen to the minister, Louis Farrakhan, and I also began to listen to Khalid Muhammad. So these 3 individuals, along with Donald Muhammad and Conrad Muhammad, you know, I was privileged to able to go see him speak one time in Carbondale. You know, they opened my eyes up to the things that I was seeing, because when I was young, I used to look at, you know, Silver Spoons, Different Strokes,
Yeah.
Give Me a Break, all these different shows that showed our people in a more affluent neighborhood only at the behest of white folk. And, you know, I would look at the conditions in our neighborhood, and then I would look at the conditions that some of these sitcoms were situated in, you know. You didn't see no oil spots in their driveway or along the sidewalk. You didn't see too much trash. You didn't see that many dilapidated houses. And they just didn't deal with the issues we dealt with. So that aroused my curiosity then. So when I began to listen to the more progressive Black empowered style of hip hop and listen to the minister and reading Brother Malcolm's book, it began to open my eyes, you know, sort of tweak that third eye to what was going on, you know, noticing the disparities, noticing the difference between the more affluent neighborhoods and the more socioeconomic deprived neighborhoods. And that's when I began this journey. You know, I began to listen to individuals like Poor Righteous Teachers. You know, I began to listen to X-Clan, you know, thus began my study in a Kemetic philosophy, you know, and they made me what they call conscious, you know, consciously aware. So I began to read a lot of different books. So I took the information that I read and the things that I experienced in the classroom, because when I started college, I just wanted to be in college. You know, that was my way of getting away. So I became what was called an undeclared major, you know. So I put 2 and 2 together, and I said, you know, I always want to give back to my neighborhood. What is one of the ways that I can give back to my neighborhood? I chose the route of teaching. I was a manifestation of study, you know. I studied, I read, so why not inculcate some of this knowledge to the children in our neighborhood to get them to look a different way? You know, that was always my thing. You know, my homeboys used to mess me all the time and tell me, man, you act like Sharif on Men's Society. Because
you was trying to teach them.
Yeah, because that was his whole thing.
That's
you know,
right.
An old dog problem with Sharif was that, you know, the information you read, you always trying to teach to us. But that's the thing. When that light bulb go off in your head, it's a great feeling. And you want everybody else to experience what you feel. You know what I mean? And so you constantly in a teaching position, even though you're not really trying to teach them, you just trying to inform them so really they can go get this knowledge for themselves. Yeah. So since a lot of individuals in the hood wasn't so receptive to knowledge, and they were on that kick of wearing medallions and all of that, because the prominent thing was, you know, with hip hop was pretty much, you know, Black Power, you know, it was just like a trend as opposed to a lifelong thing. With me, I held on to it. Even in my degeneracy, I held on to it. You know, so I brought that style to my classroom. And if one thing I learned in that classroom, man, children are receptive to knowledge. They're like a sponge. That's right. They want to see something different too, you know? So a lot of the children, which I had, were between, my first class was second grade, so I couldn't really come at them like that, but I had a lot of prominent figures on my walls, and every time I could, you know, integrate some of that knowledge with the curriculum, I would. But when I get into the 5th and 6th grade, you know, I was really hitting them with it at the risk of my career, you know, because I felt this information was more important to them than the curriculum that they had, because the curriculum was basically babysitting. You know, it's babysitting curriculum. It's teaching them to operate in the public instead of the private. It's not teaching them to control their destiny. It's not really teaching them financial literacy. See, we coming up in the neighborhood, we quasi-develop financial literacy anyway, because we trying to control our money. You know what I mean? But
on what?
You know?
Right. On what are we controlling that money?
Exactly. You know, what are we doing with it?
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, how can our money serve us as far as longevity?
That's right.
You know, the school is going to teach them, okay, this is a quarter, this is $1, because that's all concrete. You know, they got to teach them that so that they will know how to spend. They don't care about how you handle your money, just as long as how you spend. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So
it's what this economy is based on.
It's called laissez-faire capitalism, exactly free enterprise. Right. You know,
but you free to spend your money on crap, basically. That doesn't That doesn't. They don't purchase things that acquire, or what's the word I'm looking for?
They purchase things that don't appreciate.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for. That don't appreciate.
Yeah. So
that's
you know,
right.
all of these things I was taking into consideration in my class. I heavily implemented hip hop in my class because I wanted them to hear a lot of the music that I was listening to, because it was progressive. And yeah, there was some cursing in it, but I was making sure they hear my people and hear the message, because the message was more important than anything. 2, I like to have that vibe in my class. 3, it supported the things that I was telling them. You know, I gave them a lot of hip hop, and I showed them a lot of videos. You know, I showed them things like Zeitgeist. I showed them things like Fahrenheit 9/11, Bowling for Columbine. I showed them things on the CIA, the FBI. I showed them a lot of blaxploitation movies. I was showing them our people, because they're going to be bombarded with their people, with the others and their standard. So I'm going to show them my people and what drove me. You know, like I say, I took a lot of risks, but, you know, in the end, to me, it paid off, because, man, all of those children who have gotten in touch with me, man, they thank me all the time. And they crazy thing, they remember a lot of it.
Yeah, they do. But at that age, you're hitting them at a time in a transition, as you said. They're teaching you child stuff. But at 12, you're going into 11, 12, 13, you're starting to transition to another time. You're about to engage in some other activity that you didn't before. So you might have been hitting them at the right time.
It was the right time. That was the whole point. Catch them at a time where, even though they being bombarded with distractions, you know, catch them at a time where they still able to absorb this, and 2, use the classroom as a good platform.
That's right.
Because they got to come. It's not like something out in the neighborhood where they have a choice to come. They got to come to this classroom.
That's right.
According to their parents. And according to truancy laws, you got to be here. So take advantage of that. You know, while you got this platform, while you have this attendance, start embedding this information in their head. And they may only get about, let's say, 40% of it now. But
Right.
that other 60% going to kick in
Yeah, it's
after
planted.
18.
It's planted.
Yeah.
The seeds have been planted.
Yes, and man, I'm talking about, man, a lot of my students have gone on to do beautiful things. I have students that have went into professional sports, become scientists. I have students that are film directors now. I have a student, man, and he let me know this, that the reason he wrote a book was based off of some of the information that I was giving them. You know, I just wanted to provide them with a different way of looking at life.
Yeah.
It was nothing major, you know,
Yeah.
based off of my influences. See, I was influenced by Brother Malcolm. I was influenced by Fred Hampton. You know, I was influenced by Dr. Ben. You know, I was influenced by these individuals, John Henry Clark.
That's our guy, John Henry Clark.
Oh man,
That's our
I
guy.
went to see him speak.
Really?
And yeah, he was blind then. You know, I was part of the Black Student Association at Southern Illinois, so I was able to see H. Rap Brown. I was able to see Conrad Muhammad. I was able to see John Henry Clark. I was able to see Sonia Sanchez. I was able to see Nikki Giovanni.
Oh, wow.
You know, I was able to see all these individuals speak because we speaking of the early 90s.
Right.
So you still got the Black Power movement in hip hop, and then you and that's a whole nother story,
Yeah,
because they had to step in and destroy that.
Yeah.
They had to destroy that influence, you know, because 5%ers was hitting us. And shouts out to 5% Nation
5%ers,
Islam,
yeah.
man, them brothers are on it, you know. You don't even have to necessarily follow Islam to feel the nation of gods and nerds, because you will recognize the commonality that they speak of all the time, is that we got a common enemy. We need to learn, and we need to reach the children.
Yeah.
The children is the foundation. This is why a group named Wu-Tang Clan, which my number one group, they come in and say Wu-Tang is for the children. That's 5% base. That's what Papa Wu was teaching them. Reach the children.
Reach the children.
If you look at the African spiritual stories known as scriptures, because that's all they were African spiritual stories, you know, it speaks of an incident of being in the wilderness. What would happen to all the elders? They would die off. The youth would ultimately go into the promised land. So if
they were paying the price.
Yeah, if you look at what the 5% talking about, reach these children, man.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily over with for us, but it's up to us to instill in them what's necessary for the continued survival of the black man and black woman, because they have more life than us. If we reach them, Brother Malcolm always said, reach one, each one, teach one. They gonna reach someone younger than them. So it's up to us to keep this existence, keep this continual thing going on, because the Europeans doing it. Believe that.
Their records go back a long way. And I wanna turn to something that you said earlier when you said your mother had you reading, and tie that into what you just said, because I see it as the same thing in getting you that book. And my mother did the same thing, getting you into those words and reading. She exposed you to the transfer of knowledge and information. Yeah. And just as you're saying now about teaching the kids and giving back, that's how it has to be done.
That's how it has to be done.
It's our responsibility.
Man, that's a big word.
Yes.
Responsibility.
And you said something earlier when you were talking about colleges, and as they call them, institution. That word in itself,
man,
I don't think, we give enough gravity.
Yes.
Like I said, I'm big on definitions, as you are, because if you understand words, you have to understand what the definition
of institution
is.
Yeah, and then institutionalized.
That's exactly right.
So it's indoctrination based.
That's right.
It's just a continuing indoctrination. That's necessary in the society, because that's the only way you keep people in line. That's the whole point of 1984. George, it's
That's right, Orwellian.
It's
now we're
Orwellian.
getting into the justice and the legal
Right,
system because that's the basis of a society. You have to have controls.
Okay, well.
And that seems to be a nice little segue, but you've given me so much to eat off of here. Oh man! Before we get into that though, the term you spoke of, especially with the prosecutors and you as a teacher, is a word that I think people miss in the judicial system and what you did, and that is discretion.
Right.
As you said earlier, the prosecutor he has the right to either prosecute or do something else. A judge could actually, until they so-called made mandatory sentences, a judge could do all different types of things.
Yeah.
They have judicial discretion.
The power is in the prosecutor. It is no longer the judge. All the judge is going to do is hand down the sentence that the prosecutor advised him of. When they bang that gavel, which gavel represents a fascist, all right? The gavel is the power. That's why when they bang it, it's over with.
And that's been implemented a long time.
Oh yeah, fascism. It's Roman Empire. But
But you did it as a teacher in what you did and how you gave to those students, as you said, you flipped it up. You used your discretion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's bittersweet, man. Like I say, I was conscious, and another reason I was really instilling what I instill in the children because I didn't want them to be confused. Because, see, I was still confused. I was still wallowing in a lot of mess, Even
after all you had went through, the education, the whole nine, huh?
It's a testimony, bruh. And every one of my children I got in touch with after my debacle, I told them, if you remember anything, if I don't talk to you again, and thank you for reaching out to me, if you remember anything, you are in your young 20s now. Take this phrase and push it along. Never say what you won't do. Never say what you won't do. That is why you have so many brothers and sisters out here that, let's say, between the ages of developmental stages of like 15 on up to 22, they are so beautiful. There is nothing more beautiful than black folk. It just ain't. It's the reason why the world desire to be us. It's the reason why they risk cancer going out of beaches to try to bronze their skin with something we naturally have. It's just something about that brown skin. That's why, white weightlifters, they go spray paint their body to give it that look in them weightlifting competitions. We don't have to do that. So many of them get on that dope. And man, it was something that they professed that they ain't gonna do. They just said it because it was the thing to say, and plus they seen individuals that they were repulsed. But once they get into this arena of adulthood and you start making decisions on your own, you'll be surprised how easily you get deterred off of your divine path. That's why I told them, you in your younger 20s now, don't say what you won't ever do. Just make a conscious effort every day to stray away from that which repulses you or is anti-life.
Okay, on that point, and I want to bring you in here because you grew up in Oak Cliff, and exactly what you said. When we turn to that, now you talked about yes, and you grew up in Oak Cliff. Yes. You talked about hip hop. You talked about showing the movies, the blaxploitation movies. We didn't make those. Somebody else made those. Yeah. But they set a narrative, and we have this conversation, and I want you to speak on that a little bit too. The narrative. They set the narrative. I remember watching a documentary on Cooley High, and when before the Jeffersons and everything came in, and the people were saying, "Why do you keep showing us in this light?" Yeah. So when you said earlier about the potholes, about the streets and different strokes and everything, the media, and I'm including entertainment, movies, everything, they have controlled a narrative since oh my goodness, since
D.W. Griffith's Birth of a Nation.
Birth of a Nation. Thank you. That's and where radio. I was trying to go. And radio. Yeah. So when
Water Worlds, all of that.
All of that is a narrative that's put up. And when you mentioned, like I said, different strokes and everything, how in your world, when you said we turned to the drugs and different things like that, what did you see in our society? Because when hip hop first started, you were talking about Curtis Blow. You know, it was fun. You know, it was fun.
Well, the hip hop that was influenced by, you know, individuals like Amiri Baraka, the Last Poets, Gil Scott Heron. You know, that type of hip hop. You know, it was designed to provide an outlet.
That's
so
right.
Much that was going on around there. Yeah.
Right.
That would be the essence of the hip hop that we started listening to in the 90s and all of that.
Now, see, we go all the way back to the 70s. You know, I'm a little older than y'all, you know. But then Chuck D and all the rest of them came in, you know, and started enlightening you. And there's a phrase, and I want to get to you here. There's a phrase that I like to use all the time, and I tell young people, one of the most dangerous things known to man is the truth.
Ooh,
a lot of people have died because they either knew it or were searching for it.
Word.
It's dangerous. So in your experience growing up, where did you see the shift? What turned us in that direction? Because when he talks about his neighborhood that he grew up in, you know, I grew up in the same thing. You know, it was great, even though we were surrounded by Polish people, but it was white. But the neighborhoods and how we grew up was cool. What, in your opinion, changed that growing up in Oak Cliff? The mentality.
Good question.
Growing up in the music changed. Just conscious hip hop.
Yeah.
But you know, rap was just the way we talk to each other. The way they rap now is not the way we talk to each other.
No.
You know, it's just the dialect, you know, the conversations we have. We should always be constructive in the conversations we have. But just growing up, the music changed, and it was conscious music. And that got me. You know what I'm saying? I can relate to this.
Yeah.
And then it went south. It
became bass heavy.
Yeah.
It's
the bass is the beat is great,
yeah.
but the conversation is horrible.
I could expound on that, but
please, no, please.
No, it's time to talk.
No, it was just as the music changed, I was just in the movies that they were putting out. It had so much of an effect on me.
He telling you
in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, and you can see it all around you. It was happening everywhere. The movies, the music, it was so powerful.
Word.
And it changed everything around us.
Yes.
And the drugs in our neighborhood didn't help.
Yes. He telling you, I ain't really that right there, hands down.
Yeah. So the influence, you know, the influence.
It was powerful. This was,
yes.
And just like I get on my kids today about this music, man, but they gonna listen to it. But like my son here, he changes it up. Yeah. He's not just a straight crap all day listening. Mm-hmm. You know, you got to put something else in your mind. You cannot just. Yeah,
you got to feed your mind. And they seem to be, now we grew up, you know, we had Earth, Wind and Fire, we had the Shy Lights, you know, we had slow jams, you know, we had levels. We had levels, you know, when you were in a certain situation with a female or whatever, if you were kicking it with the fellas, if you were partying, there were different levels of sound.
Boy, I can't.
No, please.
Man, boy, y'all just said a mouthful. I'm talking about off of what y'all just said right there. I can nearly write a dissertation on, man. First of all, just to touch on what he said.
Yes.
He couldn't have hit it on the head any better. Okay. We all know what was the greatest indoctrination tool created. It's the television. All right? Hence the term life imitates art. At one point, art used to imitate life.
That's right.
Which means they would, on posters or in a newspaper or on television, the things that were shown normally was the reflection of life. But the powers that be that control the media, which is the Euro-Gentiles, but I'm not going to go there.
No, you are correct.
The powers that be, they figured it out. Okay, let's go back. Let's go pre-bellum slavery or antebellum slavery. One of the reasons they would not allow us to group up, is because they knew the possibilities of what could happen if we unify.
That's right.
So they
We
had
figured
to,
it
They
out.
know what
Right,
happened if we unify.
So they made sure if you unify, you are unifying under the banner of Christianity, which is another indoctrination, not taken away from Christians or Christianity, because in the end, Christianity comes from us, and it's designed to make you better. It's supposed to make you better if you
That's
follow
right.
the tenets. All
That's
right?
right.
So, but they made sure that we meet for services, and anytime that we all met up, one of them had to be present so they can be in the know.
Yeah.
They had to. It's always about controlling the voice.
Control.
The assassin, all right? The assassin is not assassinating a prominent individual just because they want to get rid of him. They want to get rid of the voice.
That's right.
Because the voice is what's galvanizing the people. And see,
That's
it's
right.
also the psychological warfare
Psychology.
behind
That's
the,
right.
the killing. Because see, the revolutionary knows death is only a second. So he's not worried about the bullet. The assassin knows that death is only a second. All right? And the individuals that put out the hit knows. What they're concerned about is the effect of the people.
Oh,
That's
right.
what they concerned about. They
Yeah.
want the people to be downtrodden and in a state of fear.
Yeah.
Because see, the true individuals know you kill me, I'm only gonna feel that for a second, then I'm gone.
Yeah.
But they ain't worried about that dude no more. They worried about killing that dude because it's controlling those
That's
who
right.
still living.
Willie Lynch.
They need to be rocked to sleep. So we talk about hip hop and we talk about television. We talk about all these transitions. All right. They figured this out. If we can control what they watch, if we can control what they hear, because
right.
they follow it, then we got another avenue of control, which is why the music ultimately changed up.
Yeah.
If you look at the civil rights movement, that wore them out. The civil rights movement, Garvey, Muhammad, they wore them out. This is why you had the creation of the counterintelligence program, because that wore them
right.
out. They was galvanizing the people. The people was coming together. Even King, even though he was on the humanist level, when he before he was assassinated, he
That's
became a lot more revolutionary.
That's
Hence
right.
the reason why he said, "I fear I've integrated my people into a burning house."
No, that's
because
right.
he seen all the efforts he was making, they were still trying to undermine him. Then when he spoke out against the Vietnam War,
Yeah.
because too many people seeing that.
Too much power.
Too much power.
Man, too many people are seeing this
Yeah.
already. Then you got King going to speak about this topic, and they already resenting the Vietnam War. Oh, we need to kill him because we know if King put his ingredients in this anti-Vietnam War protest, it's a real issue. Television, blaxploitation movies, as beautiful as they are, simply because we seeing our people on there, they were designed to destroy us.
That's right. But
you just said
Yeah,
it.
and on that, I tell people all the time, if you watch the Mac or Superfly, the message that's missed while we're caught up in all of the closes, they were trying to get out of the game.
Us, yeah.
They were trying to get out of it.
Yeah.
But that you don't hear anybody talk about that.
Yeah.
So they got what they wanted because we followed their behavior and what they saw. We didn't get the message.
Your boy, Bishop Don Magic Wand said that too.
Yep.
He was like, man, when we were seeing Superfly, we wanted to do all of that, man.
We wanted to do it.
karate and snort. So since we wanted to do that, since the pimps wanted to do that, what do you think the other people wanted to do? They wanted to do that. So they, in a sense, were designed to destroy us, but we looked at it as an opportunity to see our people on the screen. So it was a beautiful
It was
thing.
a brilliant strategy on their part.
And they
On their part, and they capitalized.
capitalized off of it.
If you remember, Anthony, when we were watching Irritated Genie, and he said entertainment, and he broke that word down, to enter, the derivative of tain, to hold, and meant purposeful.
Yeah.
TV, as you said, is a one-way tool.
Yes, it's indoctrination
It's
too.
indoctrination. It's just implanting in your mind, and you are not engaging with it. It's only engaging with you.
Exactly.
And that was a perfect example. When we saw it, they put all of this in us, and we went out and executed. One-way form of communication.
So dig this. And I say this, I'm going to say this before I say what I say. It's not to take away from any artist, because who am I? You know, who am I to say what is good hip hop, what is bad hip hop, who is unintelligent, who is intelligent, what's good for us? But I say this. The music moguls slowly transitioned that sound from a more progressive to now we finna get into, 69 Boys. We finna get into Quad City TJs. We finna get into Tag Team, because Uncle Luke is the, I like to say, the precursor of all of that, Uncle Luke, bad boy. He got a beautiful story to tell, but he provided the music based off of what they wanted.
Exactly.
So that
right,
music ain't bad, but you said it earlier. They took away the diversity. None of that music was bad. You here come UGK, here come No Limit, here come Cash Money, here come West Side Connection.
Let's not forget NWA.
Yeah, but NWA, that's late 80s,
Right,
early 90s.
right.
See, the issue is all of these groups had to be good, otherwise they would not get the fan base that they had.
Yeah.
But what the industry was doing was slowly taking away the diversity and now making it all sound like one thing. And now they're creating a prerequisite where if you want to get signed to make this money, your music now has to sound like this.
You've got to do that. You've got to do that.
Now you taking away the creative control of the artist. And Jay-Z said it too. I dumbed down for dollars.
No, that's
Because
right.
I'm a bad boy. I can go and talk about anything I want. I got 5% influence. I got street knowledge. Then I'm just an intelligent black man. But I'm going to talk about this here because this going to give me the money to ultimately make me this power couple that me and Beyonce are. So the music changed intentionally, not because the artist said, we're going to come in and start sounding like this, but the moguls said, we got to sound like this. So if you want to sound like this, you're going to put this out. So now you talk about the neighborhood to prison pipeline. You also have the earliest foundations at this time of the hip hop, the prison pipeline, because music is still beautiful. Hip hop is hip hop, but nobody is down by law anymore to come up with their own sound. Everybody's sounding like the same, and everybody coming up with names that are similar. So this is the reason why I made that statement. I'm not going to take from any of these hip-hop artists.
Right.
I'm not going to talk down because music is music. Hip-hop is ours. KRS-One said a long time ago, hip-hop is the last voice of America. Not only is it the last voice, but it's a prominent voice, and they found a way to capitalize off of it. Let's control this sound.
I will leave you with this, and I want to get into one more topic. Is something, if you've seen Straight Outta Compton, there's one line in there that stuck out to me more than anything else, and when that's when the white guy, Rick, I believe his name was, told Easy and the boys, he said, I don't know anything about rap, but I know this is going to be big. And the reason he said that, and the reason they went before Congress and had those meetings, was because he understood once we unleash this on the black community, and I saw it. Okay, you had brothers that were dressed in ballys and pastels, the way we went out and everything, and within 6 months of NWA in the 90s coming out, all of a sudden you wearing do-rags and everything. MC Light came out with I Want a Roughneck, and that flipped everything. We bought into it hook, line, and sinker. So to me, when he said that, that's right. He understood the psychological ramifications that was going to have.
So if we control the music, we control them, because life imitates art.
That's
not
exactly
art
right.
imitating life.
That's right.
They figured us out.
They figured it out, man.
On the plantation, we had to sing in old Negro spirituals to pass the message, because we started realizing
and
they stifling what we saying to each other productively. So now we got to speak in code. So they figured us out. They looked at our hip hop and said, "No, they not just partying with this. It's youngsters listening to the positive message that they spread."
Burning down.
So now we got to step in this, because see, they've created a standard that keeps us in a box.
Right.
It's a stereotype and an image that's proliferated around the globe of us that they have to
That's right.
maintain. That is why so many artists are coming out today, and so many that are conscious are realizing, look here, these artists are now coming in and being paid to continue the destruction of us.
That's right.
Once again, I ain't taking from the Meg Thee Stallions or the Nicki Minaj's or the Cardi B's or the Yo Gotti's or the Babies or any of that, because they are mad talented.
They are talented.
But notice that their music is just along a certain line.
No, that's right.
Or a certain subject. Yeah. And you know, it would be beautiful if you had balance. Yeah. You don't have that balance.
Not
Back
anymore.
in the day, for every Compton Most Wanted, you had a Poor Righteous Teachers.
No, that's right.
You had a South Central Cartel, you had a Common.
Yep.
You had a Red Man, you had a Cool G Rap. You had, for every street, you had a progressive.
Yeah.
You might have a dance, like let's say Tag Team or Uncle Luke. But you would also have this, so the focus wouldn't just be on this. But now
you had a choice.
They took hip hop and put it only in this box. You can only sound like this right here. Yeah, that's it. And they took away from the diversity.
They did.
Y'all brought up some very beautiful subjects.
Now that's what this show is all about. And I want to conclude. We've got about 10 minutes left. I want to get into what you feel about some of the solutions, what we need to do to fight back, to try to, as you said, to try to shift that influence or get the attention of these kids at that point that we discussed when you were a teacher. And please, as well, as a black male teacher, you are so rare. I would call it an endangered species, but we can go there, but we don't. But it's rare. So your influence on our kids to see you walk into a classroom is something I would say 99% of our kids never see a black male teacher.
They see it more, but
like you said, it was a risk to do what he did.
It's female dominated though, but they
White
see
female dominated.
Yeah. It's you know, it's a beautiful thing when you become a black man that can reach the youth. They are more subject to listen to you, especially if you got a story to tell.
Right.
See, one of the reasons I went and taught back in the hood is because that's where my story is. I couldn't go teaching in an affluent neighborhood where I got a class of, let's say, predominant white students. Nothing against them, you know?
Right.
But my story doesn't serve them. I would be strictly there for academics, which is which diametrically opposes my intention for becoming a teacher. Once again, remember, I was becoming a teacher to give back.
Right.
So if I'm gonna give back, I'm gonna give back the things that pertain to me and my people and what I need to give them to help them in this journey.
You can give back what you know.
So why am I gonna go out here to, let's say, a Plano or let's say a Richardson when my story doesn't fit them? Those children, a lot of them coming from $300,000 and $500,000 homes.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to teach those in the HUD homes. I'm trying to teach those in the Rosemonts. I'm trying to teach those that's in the projects of Chicago or New York or Cali.
And that doesn't mean that your level of intellect, just because you come from there, is any less restrictive than anybody else.
It supersedes it. But you go to your people. That's Garveyism.
Yes.
Go to your people. One aim, one destiny, one people.
Yes.
One love. All of that. That's Garveyism. That's Universal Negro Improvement Association.
So what can get? Okay, not everybody, and I always love W.E.B. Du Bois, the talented 10th. How do we generate, how do we get that group to take on that responsibility and feel that is something that they need to, I hate to say need, but want to do?
Well, the talented 10th, first of all, got to realize that, you know, it's not just about catering to the more affluent of our people.
That's right.
See, that's what we tend to do. Once we
make it.
Exactly. Once we leave a neighborhood, you know, we only want to deal with individuals that are functioning on our frequency at that time. When really your goal is to go back to your people. You got to go back to your people. So they can't, first of all, look condescendingly on the hoods. Second, they got to go be active in the hood. I remember, my cousin, rest in peace. You know, he came back to my hood and he was off into a lot of stuff. And it's a point that I'm making here. You know, he had come from my neighborhood, but he moved. So you moved and wasn't hardly coming back to the neighborhood. How you think the people gonna look at you? You're not really from here anymore, even though you are from here. So you gotta find a way to interact with the people, be on the scene more. You see what I mean? You got to be on the scene so these people be like, oh, okay, yeah, not only is he from here, he left here, but he also trying to contribute. So the talent intent can't look at themselves as the talent intent.
Right.
They still got to look at themselves as part of the people.
Yeah, what they are.
Don't be talent intent mentality, but have talent intent intentions. Because I understand exactly what W.E.B. Du Bois was speaking of. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm glad you made that point. In your opinion, what do you think we can do?
Well, first, I think we need to start teaching our own.
Right.
We letting people it's not in their best interest to teach our kids what they need to know. So I think that's a start. You know, and another thing is money management.
Yeah.
We get it and we blow it. That's crazy. We got to start that when we at the beginning. We can't wait till they get to college to teach them that. You got to teach them that all along the way. Yeah. I wish I had it. I got to work on it. That's something I have to work on. But with those two, that's a start. And I think and not blowing our money on. We can't catch all the holidays.
Be frugal.
And birthday.
Yeah. Be frugal. Yeah.
We can't catch all that. We acting like we can, but we can't. So, you know, money management, teach our own, if it's in summer schools or our own, however we got to do it, daycare, starting at daycares.
Yeah. Teaching them.
And teach them, not babysitting.
Right.
Yeah.
Teach the kids. And I think that's a start.
Okay.
You know what? Man, you hit the nail on the head. I want to give out to a shout out to a cat named Devontae Peters. I'm not sure if you all heard of him, but this brother is very active in the Oak Cliff and South Dallas community. And I'm talking about he goes back and do that. Now, I call him Devontae Peters because that's how I remember his name. I think it's another name that he wants to be identified as right now. But I don't want to give all this information, but you know,
no, that's fine. Yeah. But, I would love to speak with him.
If you go on Facebook and look up Devontae Peters, man, that cat is doing it. But you got to reach your people. Financial literacy is very prominent. You couldn't have said that more. Our people got to learn to be frugal. Soon as we get it, we give it back. Nothing is circumventing in our community. We don't understand the value of depreciation.
That's right.
And we don't understand the value of subduing your passion. I'll give you an example. Right now, my car, I'm proud of it because it get me from point A to point B, but I want something else and I can get in something else. But I choose not to because I got a bigger goal. We need to teach our children to prioritize.
That's right.
It's
not a wise brother. Economic decision on your part.
Yes.
Gentlemen, look, we're about out of time. I just want the audience to know that this is just the start. This is just a taste of what we want to do. This is not about me. This is not about these gentlemen. It's about something bigger that we are trying to do because as I come in with the show, let the legacy continue because I want to believe, has started a legacy of information, of going into the neighborhoods, going into the belly of the beast and trying to do the right thing, trying to teach as this brother did and do things that make a difference so that we can, I'll leave you with this. Economists like to say a rising tide lifts all boats, right? I say you got to have a boat first.
Right. Yeah.
If you ain't got no boat.
Otherwise it's lifting you.
That's right. You in open water.
Yeah.
So we're trying to give you a boat mentally, economically, so that you can rise up with that tide. And I thank you, Nick, Anthony, thank you. AJ, thank you for joining us. We're going to do this again. We didn't get to everything, but it was too good. You know, what you offered was too good. And we're going to do this as many times as you are willing to come
I'm to
and
your
visit us.
avail, as long as it's a Saturday or Sunday.
Again, thank you for joining us. Check us out on nextlev2.com. Fully Engaged is the YouTube channel. Please check out the podcast, Real to Real, with David Harris. And again, thank you for joining us, and I look forward to the next time. Peace out.